Hello there, wonderful humans in outer space. My name is Anthony, and you are watching Board Game Dads. I have a very special treat for you all today, a new first time guest and a fellow board game dad, Jordan of Jordan Plays Blue. Jordan, thanks for stopping by.
No problem. I'm glad I could do it from the comfort of my own basement.
There you go. It doesn't get much better than that.
No.
Um, Jordan agreed to chat with me today and join me on this board game holiday spotlight that is all about the moon. That's right, we're celebrating National Moon Day, which is July 20th, and just happens to be the anniversary of the moon landing, which is kind of why that's the day. A couple
And
of
we're filming this on a space shuttle launch day as well. How serendipitous
That's
of us.
true. That's true. It's the a weirder version of a space race
Yes.
than what, like much weirder.
Yep.
I don't know where it goes from here, but yeah, there's a lot of talk about that. So, out of curiosity, if you had the chance, Jordan, would you go to the moon?
Not anytime soon. I have too much to lose
That's fair.
if
That's
something
fair.
happened. So
It does seem a bit risky.
no. Yeah, I mean, if once it's all like terraformed and stuff, I like and things are cool, like sure, but no,
Yeah, I want to
I'm
see
good
it.
right now.
Yeah, a few million people need to go first, I think, before
Yeah,
I.
yeah, I am
Yeah.
not on that waiting list at all.
So you would have too much to leave behind, which kind of leads me into a couple questions that I did want to chat with you about. Every time we have a new guest here, I'd like to hear a little bit about their background and family and whatnot. So, Jordan, real quick, as a board game dad, can you tell me a little bit about your board game family dynamic?
Sure. So, um, my family is very weird. So I will say that up front, and I often don't. I, I mean, I'll tell you everything, but I often don't tell everybody everything because it's confusing. So,
Okay.
um, so I am married to a lovely wife, Candace, and we have four children. We had I'll give them an order of when a
Careful.
different order. So my order from favorite to least favorite. No, we're going to do reverse order actually. So we have a birth daughter who is 9 years old. We had her first, and then after she was 8 months old, somewhere around there, a teenager moved into our house. That was one of my wife's old therapy clients, and then she never left. And she was 14, and we ended up adopting her out of foster
Wow.
care. And a year later, she is now married and has children of her own. So at the ripe
Ah.
age of 30, however old I am, 34, 33, I have two grandchildren. Um,
Well, you look
and
fantastic.
and a son-in-law who just remodeled my bathroom. So
Ah.
it's great. But she doesn't live with us, and she's doing super well, which is really exciting. And then my wife and I, over the years, we worked professionally in the foster care system. We neither of us do anymore, but we used to, and we were foster parents for a long time. We had 10, 15 some kids through our house between the ages of 0 and teens,
Wow.
and we ended up adopting two other kids. Maya is 6 and Aiden is 4. And yeah, so my family, we have 4 kids, 3 at the house right now. And only one of them looks like me. And if you saw us in public, like like I have a family picture on my desk at work, and we just it obviously looks like a family picture, but it kind of looks like there's some maybe a cousin or an aunt is in the picture. It's just it's odd. We kind of look like a group of people that don't have a typical familial dynamic from the outside.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
do from the inside. If you asked our my daughter who's in her 20s, if you asked her stories or questions or whatever, it would be very clear who who parents were. But we're it's not a friend type thing. But
Sure.
yeah, so Yeah, that's my family. Game, game, whatever how you mentioned it, game dynamics of my family. None of my kids like to play games except for May, who's 9. She loves to play games with me. She probably says she likes to play games more than she actually does. I don't even know if we play a game every week because she's always just busy doing other things with friends on and stuff. My oldest daughter likes to play Lost Cities.
Okay.
So that's the one game we'll play, and we play a lot of spades. She really enjoys spades, and my wife and I play games together a lot. Usually just the two of us. My two youngest kids have, they're just really really busy and can't sit long enough to play games. So they're not there yet, even though they might be at the age where a lot of people are starting to play games with their kids.
Sure.
And but they are not quite there yet. And Anthony, your son's name is AJ. Is that right? If I remember that correct?
Yes.
My son's name is also AJ. So
fantastic. That's so cool.
There we go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, so you have the right to be tired, for sure.
I am. Yeah.
But that's a great thing that you and your wife do. I really admire that with the whole foster thing. That's fantastic.
Thanks. We stopped. So you could stop admiring any minute, and that would be fine. We closed our case after we adopted our son because we were like, we're good. He is a handful, and he is super cute. You can't fault him for anything, but he's a lot. So, but he's also great. So
that's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
So, what was it that made you take that first step from just sort of being a fan of the hobby and decide to become a content creator, essentially making stuff for YouTube or on Instagram? Like, how did you take that first step?
So I think two things. One, I don't have for a while, and I kind of do now, but for a while I didn't have like a public game group or like I was in my friend group the person who bought games. I've been playing which is funny because I was actually introduced to modern games from some friends, but they weren't friends that were like into games, if that makes sense. They just had a couple like modern games that Settlers of Catan and a couple others that I played with friends of friends, that kind of thing. And once I got hooked, I started buying all these games since 2009. It's been a while, and so I just started buying all these games, and I would kind of drag my friends along when they also really enjoy playing games too, but were never the ones to like research games or learn new games or things like that. I was always that person. And so there were times where I would just be talking to friends about games, and they would just kind of like glaze over because they only care about the game that's in front of, they're cool playing a game. I'll teach them the game. We'll play it. They only care about the game in front of them, right? I just wanted to talk about games, whether they, with people that actually cared to listen. I have a number of other odd hobbies, and I don't have a lot of friends that share those hobbies. So a lot of times I have friends on the internet or things like that I kind of share those hobbies with. Mm-hmm. And so I have some people that I've identified as you are my friend who I talk to about Pokemon, but they don't care about Pokemon. Whenever I see them, I'm like, you're my Pokemon friend, I'm going to talk to you about Pokemon. And they don't care. They just kind of sit and they nod, but they know I've identified them as my Pokemon friend. And I've hoped that they would, start caring, and I can't force that on them apparently, but I have other friends on the internet that care about that. So that was the one thing I just kind of wanted to talk about games. And if I am talking by myself in the basement, that's fine. I can still get that out. And then the other part was I attended a Dice Tower cruise.
Your first board game event?
No, I had gone to a couple. I think I had gone to PAX before that, maybe another one. So at the one PAX I had played games with the Brothers Murph and some other people that I had met, and then at the cruise, I don't think I talked to anybody from the Dice Tower on the cruise. Nobody knew who I was. I didn't go up, and I don't talk to strangers a lot, and they were strangers. And they, after honestly, just watching them around the cruise, just kind of seeing like, if these schmucks can make videos, why can't I? And I say that with as much love as I can. So it was kind of like it just kind of normalized and like grounded these people that they're really just also lonely idiots in their basement wanting to talk about board games too. And so at that point, I think I had talked to somebody about how to get on Board Game Breakfast, and they're like, just send an audition tape in. And for some reason, Tom accepted it. Looking back, it wasn't great. It wasn't, it was whatever. But he accepted it, and it's been a number of years now, which has been a lot of fun. And I've tried to create a type of content that is fun for me to make. I know there's a lot of different types of content out there. I really enjoy kind of unscripted content, and then also short form content. And so those are like the two areas that I do best at. Right. So those are kind of the two areas that I try to focus on.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that about seeing like the Dice Tower crew. There is this sort of aura because they are in some aspects celebrities, right? Of a very much lesser degree than say a movie star. But if you are into this hobby and you fall down the rabbit hole like you just talked about, and like many of us have, when you start to see that these are the folks that are all over the place, they become celebrities in your small little niche of a hobby, right? Mm-hmm. And to see them in person and to talk to them and even play a game with them is just this kind of surreal thing that really is amazing to feel, but also, like you said, it grounds you and reminds you that you can do some of this stuff as well. Yeah. And so that's a good good path.
And like I've been doing stuff for a couple of years now, and I've made so many cool friends, and I've met some of them. I haven't met others. I've played games online with people. I've played games in person with people. I've planned, I'm planning for some folks to travel through Pittsburgh around the con season as they're traveling to the different conventions. And even though I'm probably not going, they're still coming through the city, and we're going to, meet up, and it's just a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed getting to know people and, just kind of being a part of that community. It's been a lot of fun.
A lot of great people and a lot of great games, and that's what we're here to talk about. So we're going to get to some picks here for National Moon Day. As usual, we have 2 games each that we'll bring to the table, and we have a couple of honorable mentions that we'll talk very briefly about for one reason or another. Jordan, would you like to kick us off with your honorable mention for Moon Day?
Yeah, so my honorable mention is Liftoff, which is about 6 feet that way. Liftoff is a game from Z-Man Games. It came over from Hansum Gluck in Germany, which is they do kind of standard Euro games. Like, I know the Vikings and Tuluva right here are Hansum Gluck games. Carcassonne was a Hansum Gluck game originally. They kind of have that kind of standard rectangle box. Right. Paleo, which just won the Kennerspiel, that was the Hansum Gluck game. But it came over, and I originally played it at a convention in German. It was a pasted up German copy. It wasn't over here yet, and I got myself a copy. And I'll be honest, I don't remember a ton about how the game plays, but I remember that it was a lot of fun, and the game looks fantastic. It has a lot, kind of that space race 50s
Buck Rogers kind of thing.
Yeah, and it kind of look, some Fallout type artwork, and it just kind of fits super well in the theme. It's sort of some engine building, set collection kind of stuff. That's just kind of the jam over there. But cool theme. I mean, I like Euro style games that have interesting themes, and that one definitely fits. So yeah, that's Liftoff.
Cool. All right, my honorable mention is quite the opposite. It's a dexterity game called Catch the Moon. Now, this is an honorable mention free because I have never played it, but it does look quite fun. You have these wooden ladders that are all different kind of lengths and shapes and orientation is all weird, and you're just stacking them up with some rules about some of them have to touch 2 ladders, and this one has to be straight up and down or whatnot. They always have to be a little bit higher than the one before that. Like I said, never played it, so can't attest to how fun it is, but I've heard only good things about it. And I did see, I think it was on Instagram a while back, someone had painted their set of ladders from the
nice.
game. They were all different styles. It was cool. It reminded me of like when they used to have those statues of like bulls all over like New York City that were all like different patterns and things like that. It was
Yeah,
pretty cool.
here in Pittsburgh we have dinosaurs that are painted
Oh,
different things. Yeah,
that's much cooler than
it's
bulls.
pretty cool. Yeah,
Awesome. So yeah, that's my honorable mention. Catch the Moon, dexterity game. Never played it, but feel free to check it out.
it sounds great.
So on to some real picks here. Jordan is going to start us off as the first man to step foot on the platform of games that we're talking about. I don't know.
Yes, neither of my games have to do with the exploring the moon. Mine just are have the moon in them. But the first one is Photosynthesis Under the Moonlight. And this is an expansion to the popular game Photosynthesis, and which I actually see on the shelf behind you, Anthony. Photosynthesis is a gorgeous game. I mean, that's the one thing everybody always talks about, how gorgeous it is, and the production is super cool with the 3-dimensional wooden trees, which they used again in Bosk, which is another tree game. Right. But in Photosynthesis, one of my everybody always talks about it being kind of an abstract game, because it can feel a little mechanical about, big trees are 3, small trees are 2, little trees are 1, and you can drop it can feel a little mechanical.
Sure.
But I think it's super kind of thematic, where that you are placing these trees on a hex board, and closer to the forest center is better because it has it's lusher.
Right.
In that area, they're dropping seeds. Taller trees can drop seeds further than shorter trees. The trees are growing, and you're going through the life cycle of the trees, and the sun is rotating around the board to kind of score you points, and depending on the shade of the trees and things like that, you're getting some points, and you can plant some more trees. For me, I think it's thematic enough.
I think it's really thematic too. I mean, it could feel abstract, but it could be both. I mean, it's about trees getting sunlight. So yes, there's going to be taller ones that block sun from shorter ones. That's just nature.
Yeah. But in this expansion, now I will say up front, I don't think this expansion is essential. Okay. I think this expansion is fun. So in Under the Moonlight, you have a sun that's rotating around the board like normal, but you also have this moon that's rotating the opposite direction as the sun. And the moon is going to, the way that the sun works is it kind of shines these straight lines across the hex board. And the moon is going to also shine straight lines across the hex board, but only in 2 lines. It's not shining as much light like the moon does in real life.
Also but thematic.
I know. So the sun typically gives you these sun points that are you then use to spend. And in the moon is going to provide you with these moon points. You have a separate board where you track these moon points. The primary mechanism that's new in this is it's going to give each player individual player powers. And so each player is going to play as a woodland creature. So last time I played, I was the badger. My wife was the tortoise. And you have these little pieces, and these little wooden screen printed pieces, and they are gorgeous and super cute. And you move them around the board, and depending on if they're in the moonlight, you can get some extra points, or there's kind of that extra currency to spend. And the individual player powers are essentially kind of a bonus actions that you can spend this new currency for. Okay. And so in each one is totally different. I think there's like 6 to 8 in the box. I can't remember offhand how many there are, and each one is totally different. So for instance, the turtle is going to have these eggs around the edges of the board near the water. And as you are being able to spend this money, you flip over the turtle eggs, the turtles hatch, and then you get to use whatever the bonus on the turtle egg is. So sometimes it's like plant a tree, gain a seed. It's going to give you different things. The badger, for instance, allows you to allows you to add like sprout up a seed to a tree for free, that kind of thing as a bonus action. So different ones are just going to give you a little bit of a different, it's still within kind of the structure of photosynthesis. They're not adding like crazy weird mechanisms that you have to like really relearn. They're all kind of within the structure that already exists in the game. Gotcha. But they're just giving you a little bit of an extra thing to do. You're not honestly doing it every turn. You're doing it every couple turns, which I think might be something that's almost a little disappointing, that sometimes you feel like you want to be able to do these extra things more.
So you mean that the special ability you have as the animal can only be done certain times?
Yeah, because you have to save up the currency to do it, and so
you don't get the moon currency as often. Gotcha.
Right, and you're not going to get it every single time. So that's why it's going to take every couple turns. But I think it's super cute. It has a couple extra things in there with an extra tall tree, and then these rocks that are around that are going to trigger different things. So there's a couple like modules in here, but primarily it's the individual player powers that are kind of interesting. Super cute. I don't think it's like a required expansion, but I'm glad I have it because I think it's a lot of fun, and it just kind of gives a twist on a game that has a really simple engine and just kind of adds a little twist on it.
Yeah, those are my favorite type of expansions for games, honestly, either with a very slight change to something that's within the basic mechanics, like you said, or if it's a game that has cards, it just adds more cards or more stuff. But I don't want to have to relearn a game and an expansion every time I want to play it. So that sounds like something that would be pretty simple to play with probably almost every time. I haven't played Photosynthesis in a very long time. I don't love it at just 2, which these days is kind of the way that it goes around here, but it is one of those games that I want to get back to the table with 3 or 4. So that's a good pick. I'll have to check out that expansion someday.
Yeah.
All right, my first game you've already mentioned, sort of, but not really. It just happens to have the same name as your honorable mention. It's called Liftoff. Get Me Off This Planet! Exclamation point. Very long title. Another very cute looking game. You get these little tiny wooden alien creature meeple things that look really fun. And it's a very silly game. It does not take itself seriously at all. Basically, it's got this pretty cool modular board where there's the center of the planet, which is about to explode. And then there's these sort of triangle type pieces that go all the way around that center to make the planet. And each other one has this like little route to go up to the surface of the planet, and it has this different mechanism to try to get off the planet. And when I say this game does not take itself seriously, I really mean it. So here are the types of ways that you can get off of the planet in this game. You can use a bonfire to send a smoke signal to someone. You can use a satellite, a rocket ship, a jetpack, a trampoline, which is one of my favorites. You can pray at the altar for a miracle to get you off the planet. You can hail a UFO. There's a teleporter, a Stargate, and perhaps the funniest one, a slingshot. Now, each one of these methods of getting off the planet is going to require a different amount of resources to pay, and they can also hold multiple aliens. So, like, some things like the spaceship have room for, I think, 6 aliens, and they could be mixed up, kind of like in Survive, you could put different players on the same boat. And then some of them are just one-shots, but the overall resources are very simple. There's only 2, I think. There's gasoline and there's screws. And I don't know what you do with those 2 things, but apparently that's all you need to build a Stargate in this universe. But basically, the way the moon comes into play is, so there is also a sun tracker, which is the rounds of the game. But each time your turn is over, you move the moon to the next spot around the board. And when it goes all the way around, it's going to move that sun to progress to the end of the game. But a lot of these stations, the ways you're getting off the planet, in addition to the requirements of the resources, also have a moon phase that they have to be in. So, for example, you might want to go to the slingshot, but you might be waiting there for a few turns because the slingshot needs to be used in full moonlight because you have to see everything. So if the moon is in like the half moon or new moon phase, you're not going to be able to use that thing. So the moon is, again, it's kind of secondary to the gameplay, but it does enough that it does affect your decision making and kind of the order of things.
That's interesting. I saw a little bit about it as I was trying to refresh my memory on Liftoff because they have the same name. So yeah, it looks kind of, it definitely has a kind of playful, silly look to it.
Yeah, it's silly fun. It looks like a little sci-fi cartoon. It's got this one main bad guy card, the what is he called? Garglor, I think. Yeah, Garglor. He's just kind of like
Garglor.
He can run around and eat your aliens and things like that. So
yeah, as they do. Yeah.
As they tend to do. So that's Liftoff, Get Me Off This Planet.
Great.
All right, Jordan, before we get to your second pick, I have a couple of moon-related trivia questions for you.
Oh, great.
See how you do here.
Okay.
So I mentioned in Liftoff that the moon moves around the board in different phases. How many phases are there in the moon cycle?
Well, there's full moon. And then it like wanes for a bit. Yeah. And then there's like the where it says there's no moon, but there actually is a moon. Phases, something like that. And then it waxes.
That's right.
So I'll say 8.
8 is absolutely correct.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic. I love that. You talk that out like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I really enjoy that method. All right. Give or take 10,000 miles.
Uh-huh.
How far away is the moon from the Earth?
Give or take 10,000 miles?
Yeah, I just threw a number out there.
Okay. Well, I live 7 miles from my office. That's where I went today.
So how many commutes will it take you?
How many rush hours? 2 million miles. I don't even know what a million miles is. How far is a million miles?
Very far. You had the 2 right. So
okay.
I've got here 238,857.
Oh, that feels close. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that far.
That doesn't feel
away,
super far. Okay.
Yeah. All right, one more. So most of us know that Neil Armstrong was the first man to walk on the moon. However, I would like to know, what is the total number of people who have walked on the moon?
Oh. Well, I don't know. But I can tell you that Mae Jemison was the first African-American woman to go into space.
That is a true fact.
There you go.
You get a bonus point for
because
that one.
my daughter's name is May, and we know all the famous people named May. What
a great way to learn about people! Actually, that's right? A good method. I like that.
There's not a ton of famous Jordans, so we gotta build what we can.
If you included Jordan as the last name, then you have a
that's something else. People on the moon. I feel like it's not as many as we think. Like I feel like we went to the moon.
Less than 238,000.
Yeah, so I feel like it's not really that many. Like it's like 15 or something like that.
It's 12.
Yeah,
pretty close.
Because I feel like we only went to the moon a couple times, and then we kind of lost, not lost interest, but everybody's like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, now what?
Yeah, so.
All right, so we got our first picks here. We got some trivia going on. We're going to get to our second and final pick here. Jordan, what do you got for us last?
Okay, so this is not about the moon. So I talked about how people say photosynthesis is an abstract game. This is Nova Luna by one of my favorite designers, Uwe Rosenberg. And this is it's a tile laying game that has some nice window dressing, that has this little moon piece, and the tiles have little moon kind of faces on them. But it has this little moon piece, which is kind of cool. Yeah, you kind of fold that up. But this is a tile laying game in which you're going to draft tiles similar to Patchwork. You have the big ring of tiles, and so in Patchwork you have that pawn that you're moving through. You use that moon in this one, moving through, and you're taking these square tiles, and the square tiles have different colors on them, and the different colors are going to correspond with dots on them as well, and so you're trying to surround the tile with the proper colors. Once you surround it with the right number of colors, say you need 3 light blues surrounding it, something like that. Once 3 light blues are surrounding it, you put a little token on it. And then once you do that, for a number of rounds, once you run out of the tokens, first person to run out of tokens kind of wins. And so it is a really interesting tile laying game because the placement of the tiles is really important, but you have to really think ahead, and as you're drafting, you might take a tile that seems suboptimal because it kind of fits in this one space really well, even though it might not necessarily yield you a lot. Or you might be able to take a tile that's going to you place and you can immediately score it, put those things on it. So I think it was nominated for the Spiel a couple years ago.
That sounds about right. I think.
Yeah, but I think it's a lot of fun. It is not super heavy. It's only about 30 minutes long, which is kind of in my wheelhouse for how we play games nowadays. And I really enjoyed it. I said that it has the kind of the moon window dressing. It's not my favorite style of artwork. Kind of has sort of a almost like medieval new agey kind of look. Like if you went into one of those stores that sell like crystals
and incense and stuff like that.
Yeah, it kind of, but like not new incense, like kind of old incense. That's kind of what the artwork looks like. It's not my favorite, but it's one of those games where you can kind of look past it because the gameplay is really fun. So I really enjoy it, and that's Nova Luna. It's one of Uwe Rosenberg's lighter games. It's definitely not heavy, of course.
Sure. It's funny that you mentioned that one as your pick because a buddy of mine came over this past weekend for some in-person gaming for the first time in a while.
Nice.
And he brought a bunch of games, and that was one that he brought, but we didn't play.
Yeah.
But it did look pretty good. I think I would have liked it for sure.
It's fun. I don't think it went under the radar. I think plenty of people know what it is, but I don't know if a lot of people gave it a chance because of kind of how it looks, and you kind of think like abstract tile laying game. What's there? But I don't know. I really enjoy it. I think it's a ton of fun.
That's a good point. It's hard when there's so many games that come out now every year. It's impossible to play them all, obviously, but it's hard to get noticed too. Like you said, you need a lot of hype around it, and then even sometimes with all the hype, your game comes out, and then you don't hear anything else about that game. Sometimes shortly after it's out, it's just totally nobody talks about it anymore. And then you've got these hidden gems that people find later. Like I just got the game Fuse, the real-time dice rolling game.
Yeah,
had it in a subscription plan thing that was just one of the choices, and I got it. We got it like maybe 2-3 days ago. We've played it so many times already, and we have all these other games, but this one just worked. It was fast, it's memorable, and we like it.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, so on to my second final pick here. This is definitely the opposite from my first pick that was very silly and kind of screwing around. This is really true to life. In fact, the full name of this game is Apollo, a game inspired by NASA moon missions. That's the whole title on the box. I did not expect a lot from this game. And as soon as I opened it and took a couple of things out, I was like, whoa, this is pretty cool. Like, a lot of games have a privacy shield if you're the GM or DM or whatever. But in this game, one person's playing as the mission command behind this shield, and all the other players are astronauts. And this shield is really cool. Like, it's got cool graphics and artwork and things like that. But you really have these dials, these levels of things that you're moving these counters on, like power and experiments and communications, all this stuff. And it even has these little plastic alert symbols that you kind of like flip
Like
up and
pop
show the
up.
astronauts. The first time I did that to the people I was playing with, they're like, "What happens if we get down to X, Y, Z in comms?" And I was like, "Whoop, brr, brr, brr," and they're like, "Whoa, where'd that come from?" So this game is pretty cool. It's a limited communication game. You can't straight out tell the astronauts what to do. Instead, you get these communication tokens that you can use where you can either tell them, a specific piece of information, like what level one of their stations is on or whatnot. And every once in a while, you can get one that's a little bit better. You can tell people a little more specifics. Basically, you're trying to complete the Apollo mission, or the Gemini mission is a shorter training scenario that you can play first. And it's just a lot of fun. I was really, really blown away about how fun this game was, and I only played so far as the mission control. I haven't been an astronaut yet.
I've played this one.
You don't like it?
I didn't like it. I think partially, like you had mentioned, the limited communication, and there's only maybe like one or two limited communication games I enjoy. It's just it's probably one of, if not my least. It's not my least. I don't like player elimination at all, but it's one of my least favorite mechanisms in games. So it was fine, but it just was. I was mission control as well, and it just didn't work for our group.
Okay.
We ended up moving on from it, but the production was incredible. Like those pieces that flip up, they have these little pawns that you move on things. Mm-hmm. There's like this little mini game that you're like moving little polyomino pieces on it. Like,
yep.
The cards come in like space ice cream containers that you like rip open and Ziploc. I mean, the whole thing was incredible, and
it's a great package. Yeah,
it's like $30 at Target. Like, it's fantastic.
That's why I wasn't expecting much from it. We got it on sale, I think. I was like, all right, I'll get another one of these Target games, which are usually pretty good. But I was impressed with the production value.
Yeah, so I thought it was really good. Really good looking. It just didn't play well for us. So
yeah, that's fair.
It is what it is.
A good one, I would say, to get in your library if you are involved at all with game schooling or teaching through games. And I mean, if you're doing a unit on space travel or space exploration, this one's a no-brainer. You watch a great documentary, you play this game, and you've got a great lesson.
For sure.
For you there.
For sure.
Well, it's been lonely out here in space. Thankfully, Jordan kept me company.
We have each other.
We do. We'll always have each other in space. That is going to wrap it up for us here tonight. I do want to thank Jordan, and I want to encourage all of you folks to please go check out Jordan on all of the social media platforms that he is present on, including
YouTube, Instagram, and I closed everything else.
You did? Okay, no more Twitter.
I'm off Twitter for personal reasons. I do have a TikTok as well. I just haven't posted very much there. But
I was going to ask about the TikTok.
I do have the TikToks.
So check that out for sure. Jordan, thank you so much. And folks, we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.